My guest today is a straight talking, success generating, big hearted entrepreneur that I've known for years. I love her dearly. And I'm so excited to have her here. She's a business leader and a professional juggler. Now, that's one thing I didn't know about her. But whenever I really understand what goes on in her life, she juggles a multi-million-dollar business, an amazing, beautiful, adorable, well-trained 8-month-old Australian Shepherd. Yeah, we're working. I know you're working on that. She also has a ferocious appetite for fun, So she helps leaders around the world speak with confidence, sell with authority. Jane is a speaker, a coach, an author, my great friend. She's also, and I can totally relate to this, a speed violator. Please welcome my guest, Jane M. Powers. Jane, welcome so much for being here.
Thank you, and I do
Welcome
have a
so
ferocious
much. That makes
I have a
sense.
ferocious appetite too,
Yeah, with
for fun
COVID,
and
that
just
mine's
pizza or whatever.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, mine's gone up with COVID, especially. So what we're going to do today is, as many of you listeners know by now, that I speak with extraordinary individuals from around the world, people who are top doers and thinkers. They've committed themselves to learning, developing, and mastering not only their craft, but their mental and emotional game. So, with that, Jane, I know you've got quite an interesting background. Just share with us, kind of do a bit of a flyover of some of the things that have occurred with you, for you, around you, in your background and your family, and give us a little bit of insight as what that's meant to you growing up into adulthood.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you said something about we've mastered the emotional and mental state. I might be on the wrong show.
Yeah, we're all. I got 40 years at this, and I'm still working on it. So, or
We-
mastering. See, there's the ing on the back end of that.
That's what I missed. I always say I'm a masterpiece in progress. It's just not finished
Yes,
yet. So,
right.
continuing to do that. Well, and it's interesting that you ask about and everything. I watch your show. I love what you do, and I want to grow up to be just like you. And what I know is that everybody comes from different walks of life, and I like to say I came from a complicated family. And I say
Mhm.
that because I usually from stage I let people fill in the blanks, because that's I can tell my story, but it almost discounts or doesn't honor my audience as I tell it. So I love that I have the opportunity to share some of this, because it
Yeah,
is instrumental. I look back and I used to always say, "Why me? Why me? Why did I have to go through this?"
right.
And it's truly, who better than me to go through what I did to be able to do what I do. So, I grew up.
And who else could have handled what you went through other than
And
someone like you with the strength and that you've gained over the years?
yeah, and it's interesting because we all have the fight or flight. And what I learned, my success has been based on taking my fight, because I'm quite the fighter. There's no flight in
Mhm.
me. I don't think I've run from anything. I think I've started too many things. But I I took my fight and turned it into drive. And
Yeah.
my mind didn't know the difference. It's that same
Mm.
survivor technique or tactic, that you go and you just keep blazing a trail, and you don't look back and you don't look forward, you just keep going. And
Mm.
that was what I learned. My success was truly based on converting my fight mechanism into a drive mechanism. The greatest learning and my greatest lesson over the last handful of years has been taking the drive and turning it into peace of mind. That's been the
Ah,
greatest lesson on the
yes,
planet Earth for me.
yes.
But
Well,
y-
share with our listeners a little bit, and those who are viewing this as well on YouTube. I know you've had some interesting family trauma, but then you also went to prison. Oh, no, no, wait a minute. No, you worked in the prisons.
my career started
In the
in the
drug and
prison.
alcohol treatment center. Yeah, yeah, that came from that drive, right?
Yes, yes. It's interesting because as I was growing up, and
Mhm.
I'm one of many statistics. My mother was alcoholic, drug addicted, prescription drugs. I was, grew up in a plethora of sexual abuse and emotional abuse. We were never broke. That's one thing I'll say. We grew up in the country club, but we were the brokest emotional family,
Mm,
emotionally broke. And
right.
I mean, my dad had a very high position in his company, and at the country club, we were seen as a very um, average family. I mean, people thought, oh, look at they've got it all. But if they knew what went on behind closed doors, people would be saying, you know what, I'll take anything but that. So
Yeah.
my mother died when I was very young from she drank herself to death. Unfortunately, we found her in the home, and um when, she went off to the hospital and never came back. It never came to but it was interesting because it was 2:31 a.m. June 10th, 1976. I remember it
Mm,
very well. And when my dad had been fishing in Canada, but every other kid was there, youngest of seven, and they said, "Mom, mom took her last breath." And I said, "Okay." And I went back to bed. And I think I waited for my mother for about 20 some years. It did not, in
mm,
my little brain, it did not register that she wasn't coming home.
right.
And I knew she wasn't there, but I didn't believe she wasn't going to be there at some point. So it was a very interesting, lengthy grieving process. And what I did was I either defended because I didn't have that great of self-esteem due to all the abuse, and then you think, oh my God, she loved alcohol more than you. So you end up stopping and saying, what what am I good for? Like why am I here? What good can I do in the world? So I started, and I believe, as they say, we teach what we need the best, or whatever
Mm.
that saying is.
Yeah, note to
So
self. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I started going, and I worked in the prison. I could go home, Deb. You know this. I could go
I
home. They
do
let
know
me
this, but
home.
I'm creating dramatic effect here,
Yes,
trying to
dun, dun. But
da-da. Yeah.
it was. I think I was, trying to either save, understand, or punish my perpetrators, which were all within my family, with my extended family and immediate family. And from there, I went into the drug and alcohol treatment centers. Well, I think I was trying to save my mother. I think I was
Mm.
on a mission to say, okay, I can make a difference in the world. I can rehabilitate perpetrators. I can save alcoholics. I can save drug addicts. And then I went into the world of saving myself. I was an interventionist, I was a preventionist. I went in and worked in the community dealing with sexual abuse. And I'd go into the schools, nonprofits, profit centers, and I would work on changing the dynamic as best I could, teaching kids how to blow the whistle. And back in the day, I don't it might be the same, but back in the day it was a child had to tell 7 adults about their sexual abuse before someone would actually listen. 7
That's
adults.
just amazing and so sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so sad. And I remember doing one. I was so I was so jaded, as I was growing up, and I think I might still be. I'm not sure. But I remember we would do a little role play in the school, and then we do one-on-ones with the kids. And I
Mm.
remember thinking everybody's got to be abused. Everybody's got to have some, pardon me, shitstorm in their life. Everybody has to have that. Like that was
Right.
just my thinking. And this young little girl, I think it was first grade kindergarten we were working with. This little girl was like, I planted a garden, and she's going on and on. And I found
Mm,
myself inside going,
mm,
oh, come on, kid, whatever. I mean, it was that knee jerk. And I thought, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I need to see the world differently. And
Yeah.
we'd have that to extremes where I believe I reported thousands of sexual abuse cases within the family and changed some lives. I really
Well,
made a difference.
yeah. And thank you so much for the work that you've done. And I know now, we'll mention it again at the end of the show, but I know you've got a book out as well that's just extraordinary at how you are helping people now in so many ways. Give us the title of the book, just and we'll talk about it again at the end.
You bet. You bet. It's
Mm,
revealing the missing piece, and it's
mm.
PEACE.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
back in the day, I was like, I confronted every of all of my perpetrators, and I'm like, I'm writing a book. I'm telling it all. Like it was a I'm busting your chops book. Then it
Mm.
became, I'm gonna write a book. I think it'd be good to tell my story. And then finally I got to the point where I went, I'm writing the book because the world needs to see life differently. They need to see
Yeah.
themselves differently. So
Yep.
it's gone through my evolution. The book has gone from revenge and whistleblower to I need to really change the dynamic of how we see
Mm.
ourselves, however you decide to heal. So yeah, I
So in doing that, I mean, who better to tell the message than someone like yourself who has been through all of that and can now see it from an observer standpoint without the blame and the shame and everything else towards yourself, realizing how pure and innocent you were. I think you still are, but yeah.
oh I am a
Oh
delicate
yeah.
innocent flower. We know
Yeah,
this.
I get that from you all the time. You keep telling me I'm still working on, believing it. But talk to us a little bit about how you actually made the shift, you internally, because I hear a lot of what you've done for others. And in doing that, again, the note to self, learning and growing yourself, because so many of us, even as coaches and trainers and consultants, we're always doing that note to self. We're really good at teaching others, but the application is a whole different story. So tell us a little bit of just how did you make some of those shifts?
I'm telling you, it was years. I literally
Mm.
years of UFC cage fighting internally. It was because number one, if I had to stop and pause anything I was doing in order to have it all together so that I could then go out and be successful, I would be still sitting in the corner. And what
Right,
I realized is I've got to figure out how do I compartmentalize and be able to set aside. I'm one of the, there are not, I don't know the percentage, but I have so many memories. I have too many memories sometimes because I remember early on, I said, I will not believe a word I say if I don't see what has happened. I won't
yeah,
because
yeah.
doubt is so strong, the denial that our system can develop in order to protect ourselves is so strong, it's so cunning, I mean so
And
skillful.
yes, it's sneaky. It hides in the recesses of our minds
Yeah,
and plays itself out. It's like having a wolf or a tiger or something in the woods that it's always stalking back and forth there.
yeah,
There's always that energy. Which
yeah,
do and all of a sudden it makes a leap, and when it leaps out, it's typically when we're at our weakest and when we
yeah,
least expect it, and it's the least convenient time for it to come forward and
yeah.
trigger us in some
It's
way.
so the
Mhm.
visual that I get of that, I've been watching the documentary where it's I think the Our Planet, and it's or something
Mm.
something in color, Our Planet in Color, and it was showing that deer actually are colorblind. So when a tiger is,
Oh,
because you
yeah.
always say that, you're like, why is it sitting there? Why can't that deer see that tiger? Because they showed it through the lens of the deer, and
Yeah.
the tiger, you can't see any of this, you can't see anything. We can see a little bit of the stripes, but that's what I feel like our past is. It's sort of that tiger lurking, and we're
Mhm.
colorblind to it.
Right.
And what I made myself do was pay attention to, I became obsessed with what's going on inside and what's going on outside. And I knew if
Mhm.
chaos was outside, there was something lurking in here because everything to me is a reflection of what's going on inside. And if I don't
Right.
know what's going on inside, I look around me and now I do. I can see it's an immediate, exact reflection of what's going on. So I knew that I needed to have that light shining on every dark corner
Mm.
because the severity of my past would create a huge trigger and I'd almost not be able to function. It
Oh,
would
yeah,
take
right.
me over.
Yeah.
So this was one thing that I did that was I remember therapists, I've had a number of them, would say, you have genius survival techniques.
Mm.
And I remember I was working sexual abuse prevention interventions and I had to go to work. and I was just going through my own stuff. So I literally would go on my way to work. I would drive past a daycare center. I would envision dropping my kids, my inner children off so they can go be cared for during the day. I would drive to work and then I'm not kidding you, every day I'd drive by, I'd pick up the kids, take them home, do an hour work on myself or an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and then do my life. But it was a conscious assignment that I gave myself because if I did not stay focused, my mind would run away with me. My past would
Right.
run away with me. And it
And it
wasn't easy.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I've done 40 years worth of work as I was going through my other multiple careers and that, but 40 years worth of studying, neuroscience, brain research, NLP, hypnosis, body language, conscious language, behavioral psychology, sports psychology, you name it. I've taken the course, I've learned it, I've applied it to myself because especially for certifications, I needed to we all needed to do the work on ourselves and on each other in the class and that, which is the only way that, I'm able to now, work with others, and I don't care if it's a CEO or a high-end entrepreneur or an NFL player or, another professional or teams. I know where they're coming from because 'cause I've lived it, I've been through it myself, and I've learned the techniques now, the science-based techniques to help them through it. Doesn't mean that I'm still not going through my own stuff because we keep peeling back the layers. It's just now I can notice it quicker and shift it faster because I've got the techniques to do it, and
yeah,
I'm always looking to stop the struggle of others in our humanness so they can do the same. So I applaud you for all the work that you've done on
yeah.
yourself.
It's
Yeah.
interesting you talk about because you know I adore you and you're just like badassery is like admirable. And we get along so well because I was an athlete my entire life. That's
Yes.
actually what saved my life. If
Well,
I
and
didn't
let's
have
talk about
sports,
you're not just a normal athlete. I've seen the pictures of you playing hockey, basketball, different things. You don't just, twirl
yeah, I
around and do
played.
different things. You play hardcore sports.
Yeah, and it's I have played. I was Division 1. I had a basketball scholarship. I was point guard,
Mhm.
and I'm all of 5'4", soaking
Yeah.
wet. I mean, I am. But I took all that rage, and I used to feel bad. I mean, I really did.
Mhm.
I played football, and I feel bad because I'm tiny, but I had so much inner anger. I had so much frustration. These big gals would come try to knock me down. They'd be on their can and they'd get up swinging, and I'm like, "Here we go." And I didn't have a problem. I have been in more fights. I should not even be proud of this, but I'm telling you, it was that inner trigger
Yeah.
that kill
Right.
or be killed. My life was, I don't know if you're going to live till tomorrow, you better do what you can to survive. And it's a
Right.
natural mechanism. And these poor women, I would pulverize them and they'd be like, "What just happened to me?"
Right.
And
Where did that come from? Yeah.
after the game, I'm telling you, after every game, I'd
Yeah.
go in my car and I'd cry.
Yeah.
I felt so bad about myself, and I'm
Mm.
like, I couldn't control it. That was years ago. And and
Right.
and then after I was done playing college basketball, I played hockey. I mean everything, you name it, I've played everything. I only though play with men because women get so mad at me. You're just so rough, you're
Right.
so intense.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that is men are interesting. I've learned everything I know about business from playing basketball with men. You can
Mm.
go in, you can knock them upside the head, you can kick them where it hurts, you can say whatever you want, and afterwards they're like, "Are you coming out to lunch with us?" And I'm like,
Right.
"You don't
Yeah.
you don't hate me?" Where women would hate me for a lifetime. I remember you 10 years ago, you
Oh,
followed me in
we hold
basketball.
grudges as women, yeah. We're men and that's why I love the world of construction and working with, I've worked with a lot of men and very
Yeah.
strong women, and you're right, we don't those who are the high achievers and that, they don't hold grudges, it's just like, "Well, what the," and
But
then
I'm
you
a
shake
big
it off and
baby.
you learn from it and you move on,
I'm a baby though. Like I can dish it out, but sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that hurt my feelers," and then I don't recover right away. So it is funny. I'm sort of that dual personality in
Mm,
leadership where I'll just, I mean, I'll just go. and create whatever I desire and be able to do it and do it
Mm,
well. And I mean, it's funny because I never used to tell this. I never would tell, oh, I've created three multi-million dollar businesses and I have a seven
mm,
figure coaching business because I
mm.
think that's gross. But I had a lot of women get mad at me because they'd say, you know what? You're one who's doing it. You need to talk about it so we all can say, you know what, I want to do that. But
Right.
for me, it's just like I'm like, I just do what I do and I somewhat minimize it. But here's what I know it has been my the way that I have come through the fire of my childhood, moved into the success of my business. There's been, I mean, some key components. One, I am so extremely competitive. I am so competitive, and if I look and go, "They're not even that bright and they're doing it. I could do 10 times more than them." Like, maybe I'm judgy. I might be judgy, and I put that into good use. I took my drive, I took my judginess and my competition, my competitive nature, and moved it into how do I do business? And the thing that really helps is I'm telling you, as leaders, you've got to have a heart. Like, title, position does not make a leader. What makes a leader, there I think there's a saying or a quote that says, "There's nothing worse than being a leader and turning around and seeing no one following you." Like,
Right, yeah. You think you're a leader. Yeah, you're really not. You're just somebody who cracks the whip and nobody wants to be around you. And that's, when I look at my whole thing is, the revolutionizing the role of leaders, and it's exactly what you're saying, is that top-down hierarchical do as I say and I know it all. It really didn't work that well in the past, but people would tend to somewhat follow, get your paycheck and go home. It won't work at all now. That empathy is absolutely critical, not sympathy, but empathy, understanding the other person's position and learning how to ask the right questions so that you get the diversity of answers from so many people that you can now come up with the very best solution. So,
yeah, and
yeah,
the great resignation, it's a real thing. I
it
mean,
is.
we're having a, and it's not because they don't, I hate to say it, it's because they don't like the management. It's
That's
not
right. Yeah,
it's
people
not
will
the
run
job.
from leaders they don't like, or they'll
Yeah,
stick with a leader that they love and adore,
yeah.
and they'll do anything for them. So,
Yeah, and it's
just makes
and
sense.
it goes down to just communication. It goes down to and what I've done all my life is be aware of who you are and what your motivations are or what your triggers are, because a lot of times, and I find this, if I get triggered, my ego starts to run the show. And
Yeah,
that's destructive. That's destructive as a manager. Thank God I don't have to manage people anymore. I was a great manager when I was doing it because I had that empathy. All I wanted to do as a manager was go, "What do you love? Excellent. We're doing more than that. More of that.
right.
What do you hate? Don't do it anymore." Like, I mean, and
Well
that's how you make people happy and successful.
well, you have a team, and a team that works cohesively, um, and you're right, it's like understanding what the people look for and want, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you have to be soft, you can still be firm, be powerful from within, and people will again, they'll respond because you're finding new and different ways to do things and coming up with innovative ideas, especially when we're so, global right now that,
Yeah.
I love the quote, and I don't even know, I've heard it from several different people, but, "The world is moving faster than it ever has before, and it will never move this slow again," which
Isn't that
unless we are innovative
yeah.
in who we are and what we do, and listen to our teams and know how to ask those questions, we're doomed,
Yep.
individually
No,
or as a manager or leader.
I
Mm.
agree. We have a series going out about being a copycat. It
Yes, I love that.
You have got to be so
Mm.
original and more you than you ever had before. And there's
Right.
nothing more for me. If everyone's going right, I will always go left. Why? Because everybody's going right,
Mm.
and whatever's right is the norm. The norm
Right,
doesn't work
yes,
anymore. I
exactly.
see
Well,
so
let me
many
see.
people.
Average is an addiction. Yeah.
Mediocrity sucks. Like,
It
but
sucks big time. It sucks up your money, it sucks up your
yeah,
power, it sucks up your individuality. Yeah,
but a lot of times that's what just gets me in my industry and many others. It's, oh, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. Why? There's only one of him. Like,
right,
l- love him or hate him, thank goodness we only need one Deb, we only need one Jane. And
uh,
but many people do, instead of modeling, they do mimicking, and they
right.
run around acting and being someone else. And I'm telling you, it's the greatest way to failure. It is the fastest path to screwing up who you are, because if you're not standing in your truth and doing things your way, I'm sorry, you will not be happy.
Well, it will wear you out just trying to maintain that mask that you're wearing, and then you gotta figure out, "Well, now I'm going to a party, what mask do I put on here?
Right.
Now I'm going to work, that takes a different mask. Now I'm going home, ooh, what mask should I wear here?" And it just wears you out and wears you down, and then nobody trusts you because they don't don't really know who you are because
Right.
you don't have that self-awareness.
Yeah.
So,
Remember that saying, what you think of me is none of my business. Like, honestly, what you think of me is none of my business. And it took many years before I
right,
cared what everyone thought. Now, I still care. I mean, I do care what people
right,
think of me, but I don't allow it to change and have me step out of alignment with my values, with my core principles, with how I live my life.
yeah.
I don't. I find back in the past, I would try to placate everybody. Now it just pisses me off. I'm like, I had a gal I had a gal question me, no, lecture me. Let me put it that way. The other day, I'm on a call with her, and I said, I'm I consider myself, I'm a professional speaker. I'm not a TEDx speaker. No offense. I think TEDx is wonderful. I just feel if I'm going to do a TED
Mm.
talk, it's going to be TED. It'll be the TED talk, not TEDx. And I
Right.
said, I'm a TED talk snob. She lectured me and ripped into me why I should not think that way, why I should, you are not going to be successful because you are. And I went, and I just sat there and I thought, I have not had anyone like judge my place on anything that harshly in a long, long time. And I just laughed and I'm like, that's interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing. But
Yeah.
it
Where's
for
the
me, it
mirror?
was,
Can you look in it? Yeah.
yeah. In the past, I would have gone, oh my God, I hurt her feelings or whatever the case may be.
Mm.
And what I actually stopped and did was I went, what do you believe in? I believe
Mm.
that I am a TED worthy speaker.
Right.
And that is where I take a stand. And in the past it would have had a whole different result to it. And I, in my book, Revealing the Missing Piece and Speak with Confidence, Sell with Authority, I talk
Mhm.
about stand in your truth. If you are
Yes.
not speaking your truth, standing in your truth, someone else is running your life. You have been hijacked. And it could be your past. It could be that tiger lurking and we're colorblind to the stripes and we're going to be eaten. And
Right.
it's a matter
If you
of,
allow it. Yeah.
yeah, who am I? What do I stand for? And don't waver from that. Don't waver
Yeah.
from that.
So when we look at self-awareness and empathy, which we've talked about, and also self-management, I mean, self-managing our emotions, which you've mentioned, the more you can be aware of them, you can notice them quicker and shift them faster. And even in a situation like that with the caller, where rather than being pulled into somebody else's energy. We are not here to heal everyone. Not our job. We got enough work on ourselves to do. Um, what, where do you stand right now in your life, in your career? What's good about what's going on for you based on all the things you've been through in the past to get to who you are today?
So, it's interesting because I think I'm hearing this from so many people that COVID has been a blessing in disguise. COVID has,
Mhm.
it's a yes, and yes, it's been a blessing in disguise, and it's been a pain in my
And
butt.
it
Like,
sucks. Yeah.
yeah, and it sucks, and it's creating. an awareness of I do, there's many of us that look outside in the world for fun, for validation, and we've been more isolated. So we've got to look at ourselves to be able to say, do I like me? Am I an okay person? Like, and prior to COVID, I have been, since the day I hit this planet, I have been surviving. I have been
Mm.
moving, taking action, bobbing and weaving. It has been, a system that I have never stopped. And I have generated success. I have generated businesses. I've had, I don't know if you know this, Deb, 25 and a half career adjustments. I some voluntary, some involuntary. So
Right. Yeah, I hear you.
I I have been doing so much,
Mhm.
doing my life, and
Yeah.
internally and externally, because I'm an outside processor, I'm a verbal processor. I wanted to learn how to slow myself down and still maintain a level of
Mm.
success.
Right.
And prior to COVID, we were doing 2 live events, 2 3-day events a year. We were closing, 40 to 50 clients. I mean,
Mm.
that's so
That's a
many for
lot. Yeah.
my business and the team. And I finally went, you know what? I need my life back. And so I apologize to the world that's listening. I probably caused COVID because I was begging for something to stop this train from going at the pace that I always have gone. And
Right.
COVID hit, and man, I took the year to work on myself. And
Mhm.
it's funny because I have to set the alarm. I'm confessing right here and now. I have to set the alarm to get my butt out of bed around 8:30 or 9. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding you.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love
I
it.
was at 6 a.m. at the gym, back at the office
Right.
at 8 a.m., work till 6:30, back at it the next day. And I'm like, oh, I can't wake up. Get
Mhm.
up, walk the new dog, which requires a ton of exercise, go biking, do whatever I want.
Mm.
And what has happened within that, and it is simply I needed to change the voice in my head. I needed to change the program. I used to get up, remember I told you, 6 a.m. I'd
Mhm.
get to the gym and I'd start my workout and I'd be on that Stairmaster going like 100,000 miles an hour. And I would hear
And
in my head,
your mind staying with it.
yeah, my
Yeah.
mind
At
was
that
fine. My
pace.
mind my mind was way ahead of it. My mind would say,
Mm.
"Well, you better get going and get back to that office." And it would
Right.
create this surge in me like, "Oh." And I was thinking, I said this morning, I'm like, "Is it a lack of serotonin uptake? What is happening?" And what was my alarm before? Do you know what my alarm clock was before? I'd wake
Mm.
up, I'd think of what I had to do, I'd panic that I didn't do something well, right, or get it done yet, and I'd get out of
Mm.
bed. My alarm
Right.
clock was stress, was an adrenaline
Mm.
rush. And most people operate on adrenaline rush. And so
Exactly.
what I've had to do was like be okay with it. And do you want to know? This is not bragging. Yes, it is. It's bragging, but I don't mean to. I've
Shh, it's a
done
secret. Just say it real
it's
quietly, and
yeah.
then
I'll
it'll be
say
a secret.
the sales calls I've had, I think
Mhm.
just over a dozen sales calls, and it's 100% yes rate.
Mm.
Our the
Yes.
closing rate is yes, yes, yeah. And I scratch my head. I get off the call and I go, "What is?" I look around and I'm like, "What is happening? Like, what
Right.
is happening?" Someone has and it's because I am in the frame of mind of receiving what is good, and I'm
Mhm.
not a grateful person. So if you're out there going, "Yes, my affirmations are working." Oh, I'm the worst at it. I will complain and bellyache, ma ma ma. Well, let's do the gratitude alphabet gratitudes.
Right.
A, I'm about. Oh, I'm like takes too long. You know this about me, Deb. And I just sit there. I'm not a grateful person. I feel love and yes, and it's wonderful, but I don't sit every day and go, "Oh, I'm grateful for the star and the moons and this and that." What works for me is saying, you know what, I'm committed to being a better person in the world. I'm committed to loving greater, to receiving even more, and to loving myself. And trust me, that has taken years. And until the day I lay my head down for the last time, I don't think I will never be like, oh, what a pretty little bow on that really together gal.
Right.
I'm
Well,
human.
and that's the thing. I mean, with that note, I mean, that's a perfect way for us to kind of wrap things up a bit. But you know, too many times I've heard it. In fact, I even wrote it in my book that the whole um, not power statements, but positive self-talk. I stood in front of a group once and I said, "How many believe in powerful self-talk?" This is a bunch of college guys looking to get into the NFL. They were the NFL wannabes, all extremely talented and very intelligent, and they all raised their hand. And I just looked at them. I said, "I think it's a bunch of bullshit." And you could see them kind of sit back in their chairs and look at me. And I said, "Because it's all talk." I said, "When you take, and this is what I know about you, is you internalize, you take
Yeah,
and you internalize what you're feeling, and the feelings are the glue to memory. The feelings are what make it stick. Saying a lot of really cool things in a really, euphoric way, that's nothing, that's thought.
yeah,
Internalize it." And I
yep.
so appreciate that you do that and that you've come to where you are in life. So I didn't have to know you back then. I know you now. Now that you're through most of that, and thank God you didn't know me
Yeah.
back in my day and stuff, um, that we've come through it all, and now we can continue to help ourselves, but also be there to help show the way for others.
Yeah.
So I thank you
No.
for that. So let's share with everyone, if you would, where they can find you, where they can find your book, your all the courses you do on speaking in that as well.
Yeah.
Just give us the rundown.
All right, I'll give you you can find me. The best place to go to find me is janempowers.com. A lot of our events are on there. We have
Mhm,
speaker boot camps. We're doing one actually early December,
mhm,
so we'll have that. That's Impact Speaker Boot Camp. So janeempowers.com is the best way to do it. My
okay.
books are Speak with Confidence, Sell with Authority. That's the business book. Starts with mindset, goes into messaging and sales, and then Revealing the Missing Piece is for individuals, anyone that has been through any level of trauma. I don't care if you moved 382 times your senior year or you had the most,
Mhm. Horrific,
gruesome
yeah.
trauma, yeah,
Mhm, mhm,
past that has happened.
mhm,
And what my goal with the book is, as you know, I'm a shortcut expert. I don't like, if there's 10 steps, I'll do one,
mhm,
two, condense 3 through 10, and make everything happen very quickly. The book
mhm.
is essentially taking my experiences and sharing with you, not my path, because man, it was long. It's how to shortcut the healing process. I took way too long. I experienced much of my trauma through therapy. If I didn't come out wringing wet, like have puffy eyes, and just have cried myself into a puddle, I didn't think I got my money's worth. And
Right.
quite frankly, what I learned was that was just re-engaging my past into my present. And what
Yeah,
I do
keeping
in the
it
book,
deeper.
keeping
Yeah.
it deeper, just affirming that victim
Mhm,
mentality, and I'm surviving something. So,
right.
Deb, I don't know if you know this, we have coined the term survive or, because the word survivor
Oh, I like
says,
that.
yeah, the word survivor says
Right,
I've survived something and it's still here with me. But
right.
survive or, it
Or
makes your brain move forward. Survive
right, you
or
have
live,
options.
survive or. Yep.
Right.
So it's an option based phrase, and that's what we've worked on within the book, and you'll see that in the book. And um, it is my my suggestion to anyone listening is, if you can't find that inner peace within the world we're having today, you'll never find it.
Mm,
This is the time. I used to always say, I'm going to go sit on, I just want to live on the top of a mountain. I'm going to be a monk. I'm just going to sit. I know I'll be happy. I know I'll feel whole. And then I'll come down that damn mountain and I will find people. And
yep.
people are the greatest mirror for your growth. And in
Well, and wherever you go, there you are, so
there they are too, dang it. But
right.
truth be told, my everything I do is about your voice. You find your voice, you'll find your power. In your power, you can do anything. You step outside or give your power to someone else, they can do anything. So you
Yeah.
need to find your voice, speak your truth, stand up. Just watch Deb. That there is no
Mimic
better
me.
role
Oh, wait, wait,
model.
wait, wait, you're not supposed to mimic. Um, Well, thank you so much. I love you. I'm so appreciative that you're here and that you are sharing your message with others, as well as helping others develop their own personal message. So, for all of you, make sure you stay tuned for Afterthoughts and Insights, where I'm going to break down the top three. And believe me, there's so many more than the three, but the top three insights and from today, and do it in 3 minutes or less. I want to thank Jane. You are amazing for sharing all of this goodness with all of us. Take what you've learned. Please take what you've learned, implement it. Jane's links will be out on the website, wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for listening. Apply this to your professional and your personal life. Thanks.